Installing the fuser kit in the Dell 2330 and 2350 series printers. Be sure you turn your printer off and allow it to cool for 30 minutes before beginning this procedure. Locate the power switch on the rear of the printer and turn the switch off, and then remove the power cord. There are two screws located on the upper side covers. They're in the back of the printer. Remove those two screws. Move around to the front of the printer and then open the toner access cover. Take a small flat blade screwdriver and pry the front of that cover and it will slide backwards. Do the same thing on the left side. Pry the front of the cover out and it will slide back. On the back of the printer you can open the rear exit door, pull it straight up off the hinge pins. There are 4 screws that hold down the top cover. These two on the right side, use a magnetic screwdriver and remove the 2 screws on the right, and the same on the left. Remove those 2 screws. There are 2 screws that are on the rear cover. Remove those 2 screws. Take a small flat blade screwdriver and locate the holes on the top of that rear cover. Pry those up. It's a spring-loaded clip, and that will come right off from the top and come out of the bottom. Pull the top cover off also. There are 4 screws that hold the rear exit guide. Remove those 4 screws on the rear exit guide. Once those are out, you can pull that out slightly to the left, flip it right over just out of the way. There are 2 screws that hold in the fuser. Remove those 2 screws. They're on the brackets there. There's a sensor cable that goes over into the controller board. Open up the access panel. Locate that sensor cable and unplug it. Then pull that sensor cable through the side frame. There are a couple guides that hold the cables up off the fuser. As you pull the fuser out, you'll need to release those cables from the guides. Once those are free of the guides, the fuser will come out. You'll have to unplug the cables. Unplug that sensor cable. There's a little cover over the power cable. Remove the cover. Pinch that power cable and it will unplug from the fuser. Your fuser can now be removed from the printer. Those 2 guides will hold the cables up out of the way when reinstalling the new fuser. Put your cables in there. There are 2 pins on the left and the right, one on each side, and they line up with these guides on the fuser. Slide your fuser partway in toward those pins. Once you have it partway in, you can start to reconnect your cables. Reconnect your power cable and then your sensor cable. You can then put the cover back on top of the power cable connector and then take that sensor cable and run it through the side frame over to the controller and plug it back into the controller. Reinstall your screws on the fuser. Take your rear exit guide and then insert it on the right-hand side and then reinstall your screws. Notice there's a sensor lever on that exit guide. Make sure it's in the down position when you reinstall your top cover. Then reinstall all 4 screws on the top cover. The rear cover lines up to these holes in the rear of the frame. Line those up with that rear cover and then snap it in on the top. Then reinstall the 2 screws that hold in that rear cover. Take your exit door, line it up with the hinge pins, and then snap it back in. Your top side cover, put the vented side on the side that has the vents on the printer, and reinstall the screw. And the other one on the other side that does not have vents. Remove your toner cartridge. The transfer roller is located below the toner cartridge. You want to make sure you put a glove on when removing the transfer roller, and you don't want to handle the new transfer roller. There's 2 clips you can pinch. It's spring-loaded. Pinch the one on each side. It will pop up, and then remove the old transfer roller. You'll see that the spring lines up with a hole in that pinch clip. When you put your new one in, make sure you have the springs in the printer on each side. I think it's easier. And just line those pinch clips up with this hole for the spring. Drop that right in on that hole on both sides. Then push it down and snap it in. Make sure you have good spring action on both sides. Then reinstall your toner cartridge. Remove your paper tray. If you push down the blue duplex guide, and then you can push down the pick arm, we're going to change the pick tires. I think it's easier if you put the printer on its backside and push the end of that shaft. There's a clip there, and the pick tire comes right off the shaft. There's only one way you can put them on, and just change out your pick tires. And that's it. The procedure is complete.